This clip will cover if statements, in particular an if statement where you need to examine more than one condition. So these are classified as if and conditions, where there's more than one condition to be checked. So what we have here is a spreadsheet whereby we record the details for students or college applicants, and we record the college they attend, the specialism that they take specialist courses in, and their score in an aptitude test. So these three columns in particular are going to be the variables or the factors that's going to influence their starting salary. So the question up here in the top reads as follows. It says, column I, which is currently empty, is meant to store details about the starting salary of scientists. So our assumption is that scientists who attend college in GMIT, which is column E is the column that holds the college details, and who specialize in genetics, and who scores under 65 in the aptitude test. So the college, the specialism, the aptitude test will influence those people getting a salary of 35,000, and anybody else should expect a salary of 40,000, the starting salary of 40,000. So you have to meet all three conditions. You have to meet the GMIT condition, the genetics condition, and the under 65 condition. So the first couple of candidates, none of them meet the GMIT condition. The fourth one down is from GMIT, but he doesn't specialize in genetics. The fifth one down is from GMIT, specializes in genetics and is scoring under 65 rather, in the aptitude test. So when we look at our candidates or examine them, the if statement here is going to help Excel decide that those first four people should get 35,000 and the fifth individual should get 40,000 for their starting salary. So how do we make that happen? We make it happen by writing an if statement. So it's an if statement with an and condition as well. So we have to say if equals if. And this isn't a simple if. It's the more ambitious version of it. So it's if and. So and goes in brackets. This is the bracket, sorry. And then we open a bracket. We open a new bracket. This will mean we have to close two brackets later on. But if and inside the and, so the and will eventually be closed by a bracket, which I'll put in now. So inside this and, I'm going to list my three conditions. So my first condition is my college, which is column E. And the first case in column E is cell E12. So it'll be if E12 equals genetics. Equals GMIT, equals GMIT, as the question reads. So GMIT being text value needs to go inside quotes. GMIT and double quotes around it. That's only one of the conditions that's relevant. So the second one is the specialism in genetics. So this column F holds the data about specialism, and F12 is the first cell of interest in that regard. So this is going to be F12. That's going to be equals genetics. So double quotes around genetics. And that's two of the conditions dealt with. And the third one is the aptitude test. So it's going to be under 65 in the aptitude test. So the aptitude test information is column G. So it'll be if G12 is under 65. So that means less than 65. So that's all our conditions. Okay. So the and here, now we have our list of conditions. And then we need a comma to decide to separate those conditions from what we do if all the conditions are true versus when they're all false. So in our case here, the individual needs to be from GMIT, needs to have a specialism in genetics, and needs to have under 65 in the aptitude test in order to get this starting salary of 35,000. Otherwise, you get 45,000. So if that's the case, then the value for the 35,000 is held in cell G8, or H8, sorry. So I'll click on cell H8. And again, I'll ignore dollar signs for a moment, or absolute cell addresses. And the alternative value is in cell H9. So there's my true and my false. H8, if the conditions are true, what you do when the conditions are true. And H9, what you do if the conditions that we checked earlier on are false. So I press return there, and that individual is getting 40,000, which makes sense because he doesn't meet all three conditions. So fill down, as I said, the first client that should get 35,000 of salary is David Doran. But what I've done here is, because I haven't used the proper cell addresses or cell references, in other words, I've omitted dollar signs, that as I fill down the formula, what I thought was H8 and H9, which is needed in every case. In every comparison, we need to present H8 and H9 as two options. That works fine for the first candidate, Robin Allen. But we go to Leanne Burke, it chooses H9 and H10. When we go down to the next individual, the third individual, Collins, it's H10, H11, and then H11, H12, and H13, H12, H13. So that isn't what we want to do. We want to have absolute cell addresses here for the H9 and H8 and H9 aspects of this if statement, or components of this if statement. So we press F4, put the dollar signs before both the H and the H to make it a totally absolute cell address. And likewise, we want to make the H9 aspect of the formula, or element of the formula, also give it an absolute cell address. So when we do that, we'll press return to get Excel to record that, and we'll try and fill down once more. This time when we fill down, the first candidate who has GMIT genetics and 62 or less than 65 gets 35,000 salary. And then later on, there's another candidate who has the same combination of GMIT genetics and 62. So the if statement, the if and statement in this case, is not a simple if statement. It's an if and where we're checking three conditions. So once it's more than one condition you're checking, you will need the if and version of the if statement. So I'll fill down now for the remaining individuals and see do they all behave. So there's one more here who gets 35,000 of a salary, and again that individual has GMIT genetics and 62, or a value below 65. So just one quick last look at the formula. So we have as an if, an open bracket, then an and the and deals with all three of these. It deals with the E12, in other words the college, it deals with the specialism, and it deals with the aptitude test. And then based on if all three of those are match up what we say here, match the values specified, the conditions specified, then the salary that's recorded in H8 gets chosen, otherwise the salary in H9 gets chosen. So we're saying in all the cases here that some of them deserve the H5 figure and some of them deserve the H9 figure, or many of them rather deserve the H9 figure. So the if and if statement here has enabled Excel to decide who gets 35,000 and who gets 40,000. So again, that's the role of an if statement in any language, is to enable the computer to make a decision rather than the user. So the user feeds it the if statement, feeds it the conditions in the if statement, and what to do if the conditions are true versus what to do when the conditions are false. And then the if statement decides what pops into the relevant cells here in column H. So that's the end of the clip.